Here again is the model with collateral introduced earlier. Recall that the firm has aggregate capital KT, which depreciates over time and increases with new investment opportunities, fraction alpha of each new investment corresponding to tangible collateral. The firm generates aggregate cash flow based on its past investments and their current profitability. And again, the question is, what's the optimal capital structure, and how does it relate to the firm's cash flow and collateral? Consider first a setting in which collateral is not available and the firm can use only unsecured debt. In that case, the firm's optimal borrowing will depend only on the firm's cash flow. In particular, it will not issue debt to fund new investment, though it will borrow against the future cash flow generated by that investment. The intuition is that due to the firm's ability to borrow repeatedly, investors will demand a high credit spread initially, to the point that there's no funding advantage at the margin. And thus there's a funding disadvantage due to price impact if it issues a large block of debt at once. Instead, the firm will increase its borrowing gradually as the post-investment cash flows accrue. Here's an example of an equilibrium capital structure with unsecured debt only. As you can see, leverage responds only slowly to the firm's profitability. In particular, note, for example, here that there's no immediate response of leverage to new investment, again indicated by those spikes in the graph. Now suppose the firm's investment does include collateralizable assets, such as real property, equipment, inventory, or receivables. These assets have market values which are relatively predictable. By using such assets as collateral, the firm can guarantee creditors a minimum recovery value. Moreover, this guarantee is not diluted by future debt issuance. Current creditors have exclusive rights to this collateral. Given this guarantee, the value of secured debt becomes independent and ultimately insensitive to total leverage. Looking back at our formula for optimal issuance, because the price sensitivity of secured debt drops to zero, the optimal issuance remains discrete even as the time interval becomes continuous. In other words, it's optimal to issue secured debt in discrete blocks. And in that event, the firm will capture a discrete gain from the trade. Thus, when the firm can issue both secured and unsecured debt, with each new investment opportunity, it will be strictly optimal for the firm to finance new collateral using secured debt. By doing so, the firm is able to capture the full funding advantage associated with its secured debt, and this lowers the firm's effective cost of capital, potentially leading to additional investment. Again, unsecured debt is not immediately affected by investment, but will respond gradually to the firm's future cash flows. Going back to our example, now we see the rationale behind the three policies we discussed at the start. In each case, note that secured debt increases immediately when the firm invests in new collateral. In policies 2 and 3, the firm also issues unsecured debt. This debt evolves gradually in response to the firm's cash flows. In policy 3, the firm is using short-term unsecured debt and therefore adjusts its leverage more rapidly. Under policy 2, it uses long-term unsecured debt and adjusts it more slowly. But in either case, the opportunity to issue unsecured debt does not increase firm value, as the funding advantages are fully dissipated. Thus, policy 1 shows another possibility. Because there's no funding advantage from unsecured debt, the firm chooses only to issue secured debt. This policy is also optimal from shareholders' perspective. Again, note that in all three cases, debt and collateral are closely correlated, whereas debt and profitability need not be, especially in the short run. In terms of valuation, the central result is that a marginal dollar of unsecured debt does not change the value of equity. On the margin, we obtain a Modigliani-Miller type of value irrelevance, even in the presence of large tax or moneyness advantages to debt. On the other hand, equity holders do gain when the firm issues secured debt, as the firm is able to capture its full funding advantage. It's therefore optimal for the firm to issue collateralized debt whenever possible.